know what? People often ask me, what is the biggest mistake that caregivers make? And that's a really hard question to answer because unfortunately, we make a lot of mistakes, not intentionally, but we make a lot of mistakes as a caregiver. I think probably the number one biggest mistake that is made, not intentionally by caregivers, is the fact that we try to convince and persuade. We don't understand why we can't talk our person with dementia into anything. We feel like we're not trying hard enough, or they're not listening and they're not trying hard enough. Because, let's face it, our whole lives, we're always telling other people what they should do. You should go see this movie. You should go to this restaurant. So you should wear that color all the time, right? But the truth of the matter is, people with dementia, they can't see things from another perspective. They can't see things from your point of view. It's just not possible due to the brain damage. So today, I'm Debra, by the way, in case you're new. I hope that you subscribe to our community. We have a great community here. We keep things positive or we kick you out. But we have a really, really great community here, and nothing is off limits. We are truthful with each other, and we kind of let it all hang out. So nothing is off limits. Go ahead and ask whatever you want. So one of the biggest mistakes is that we're trying to convince our person with dementia. We're trying to tell them, you need to take a shower because you haven't taken a shower in 5 days. Well, the problem is their concept of time doesn't exist. They took one yesterday. That's what they're going to tell you. And to them, they really may have thought that they took one yesterday, or maybe they're just fearful, or maybe they're just their sense of smell, because as we age, we lose our sense of smell, right? I mean, there's so many different reasons why. But then when you also try to convince them to take their pills because they need to take their medication because they have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and they're like, no, I don't. No, I don't. And that's because they have anosognosia. They really don't think that they have an illness. That's what anosognosia means. No known illness. So again, we're trying to convince them of something that they cannot be convinced of. So the hard truth is, while unintentionally, caregivers tend to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over, it's simply because they aren't shown the skills or the way to change their language to get the results, right? So we can try to be right, or we can try to get results. We can try to be right, or we can try to get what we need done. And that's my specialty. That's my specialty, is getting that person to do what we need them to do, and to do it in a way that builds their self-esteem and their respect and saves us the heartache from arguing, persisting, fighting, because nobody wants to fight, right? Nobody wants to fight. And sometimes we keep falling into this trap, right? And it's hard to get out of this quicksand, right? We just keep drowning and drowning and drowning in this quicksand. And if you could Google it, you would Google it, right? But the truth of the matter is, the way we are brought up as human beings and the way that we just naturally interact with each other is not a way that we can interact with a person with brain damage. And it's interesting to me when I teach, and I get into the brain and the damage and what's actually going on in there. And we do like some sensory experiments so that people can really see what it's like. It's almost like they knew their person had brain damage, but they didn't know they had brain damage. And it's kind of like these huge aha moments for them. And suddenly everything that was hard becomes easy. And I'm all about easy. Tell me. I'm telling you, if it's hard, I don't want to do it, right? But if it's easy and I can get what I want, because I know what you want. I know what you want. You want the arguing to stop. You want peace and calm. You want your life back. You want some time for yourself. You want to be recognized for all the hard work that you do. You want to be recognized for all that hard work, and you should be. There's so many things you want. Type in the chat what you want. You want your stress level to come down. You want your person with dementia to calm down, right? That's what you want. I know what you want. Put it in the chat. Tell me what you want in the chat. But the truth of the matter is, it's not that you're doing things wrong intentionally. It's just the way that we're brought up as human beings, how we communicate with each other. So the strategies that we're using to communicate with people with dementia, that's what has to change in order to get the person with dementia to change, so that we can get rid of all these symptoms and these behaviors and the lack of communication. It's just a matter of skills. That's all it is. I've taken my 18, 20 years of testing and trying out these strategies, and I've put them all together in this nice little snowball just for you. And they work. They work. They work all the time. So it's a matter of being able to get our communication through to that person with dementia. So, like I said before, we can't reason, we can't argue. So think about this statement. When your person is exit seeking, right? And you're running after them and you're like, hey, mom, stop. You can't go outside. You can't go outside. How do you feel when someone tells you you can't do something? You immediately put your guard up, right? You're going to start the argument. So we just started an argument. Or if you say, mom, wait, you're not allowed to go outside, or you're not allowed to use the stove. What does that do? What do you mean I'm not allowed to use the stove? I'm an adult. I'll do whatever the hell I want, right? We're starting the fight again. So wouldn't it be awesome if you were armed with ideas, with scripts and things that you could say instead of those words to actually get them to back away and comply? Yeah. So this is where we as the caregiver have to learn just how to tweak what we're saying. And it's not really hard. It's not really hard. You just need to come up with a few that work for you, and you need to stick with them, right? And you need to be able to think of them pretty quickly, because we all know dementia is very eruptive. It happens quickly, and surprisingly, it catches us off guard. So we have to have these things like in our little toolbox ready to just whip them out and use them in a second. And so it takes a little bit of practice, but it's not hard. It's most certainly not hard. I would never, ever, ever try to ask you to do something that's hard, because I don't want to do hard either. But I have this really great PDF for you today. It's called Fight Activities with Behaviors, and this is available on my website. It's 3 pages. It has different activity ideas for different stages of dementia, because you know everybody says divert to an activity, divert to an activity. Well, here's some activities for you. This is available at answersaboutalz.org under the free resources tab. Answersaboutalz.org on the free resources tab. Also, there's an events tab where you can look up and see when the next webinar is going to be, when the next course is going to be held, and how you can book a call if you need to book a call. I do one-on-one coaching, and I also have my course that will take you whoosh to perfection. And don't forget to pick up a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Forget Me Not. The foreword was written by Dr. Sharon Brangman, who is the chief of geriatrics at SUNY Upstate Syracuse Hospital. She wrote the foreword to my book, I was so grateful. But this book will help you tremendously. I get hundreds of letters every day of people telling me that their lives have been changed by reading this book. And it's a super easy read. There's nothing hard about this book. But I'm Debra Costu, and I'm so glad you're here. Please hit the subscribe button. Share this channel with your friends because there is so many people out there who need this information. And join me on TikTok. I do lives almost every day on TikTok. So again, thanks for joining me at Answers About Alzheimer's. And I'll see you soon. Together we can.